family, it's Tasha from MAMABEAR Preppy, and you already know what time it is, baby. Get your drink, pull up. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a common question that I keep getting, hey, what is in store for us for the rest of the year, right? What else is going to happen to us? Do you have any predictions? I don't really like to do predictions just because in general, nobody knows what's going to happen except God himself. But of course, I'm like everybody else. I watch the news, I watch things, I discuss things, I research things. And of course, I do have thoughts on things that I think will happen, things that I hope don't happen, but we are setting ourselves up to have certain things happen, right? And so I just want to talk about those things, but I also want to talk about some fun, kindness, just relaxing things that me and my family plan to do to finish out the rest of the year, right? What are we concentrating on for the rest of the year, right? What are our goals? And I would encourage you that even though there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now, that you look into yourself, look at your hobbies, the things that you enjoy to do, and do those things with your family, right? The preparedness goals that you have in mind for you and your family to complete for the rest of the year, then do those things, right? And don't concentrate on all the fear and all the extra, gloomy type stuff, because it's hard. It's heavy stuff. And it's not that it's gloomy and fake, right? It's real. This is real life stuff that's happening around us, okay? And that can be heavy for somebody to carry when you think about it, when you really start to think about it. I watched Canadian Prepper, his video yesterday, and I just got such a heavy sense from him, right? I think that he's really, really feeling it, right? I think he gets a lot of information. I think the man is very smart, very intellect, very into tracking what is going on with the conflict overseas, or not overseas, with the conflict with Russia. I think that he also is tracking stuff overseas, other countries, other threats. I think that he watches it a lot more than a lot of us do. And he covers it in a way that you're not going to get that type of information and coverage from the social media, from the news outlets, right? And so I think it's important to watch and understand people like that. But again, because he's so immersed in it, you can just physically tell on him, he's really, really feeling it, right? And that's not for the pompous, that's not for the money, that's not for the clickbait. That's like, you can see it on him, how he's feeling about things, okay? And he's just trying to share it with people. So take that for what it is. We share a lot of the same thoughts of viewpoints of how things might happen and things that we're watching that are concerning. So some things that I think we should be concerned about for the end of the year, for finishing out the end of the year. I think we have to get through what's going to be a brutal winter for a lot of people, right? You have folks all over the country that are truly struggling, right? Struggling to make it, struggling with bills, trying to determine, do they buy gas? Do they buy food for the table? How are they going to make Christmas happen for their little ones? Paying utilities, different things that are going on, the price of food. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you have families that are struggling, right? And we don't really show that and talk about that enough, but we have families that are struggling, and going into a winter timeline is going to make things worse for those folks. You have a lot of people that are already homeless, a lot of people already living and have made moves, moving and downsizing into RVs. You have people moving in and staying in their cars, okay? You have a lot of people, a lot of families coming together and having multi-families living together now. You have a lot of stuff happening that we just simply don't talk about in a society, right? Inflation is hardcore. Some other stuff is, I don't think we have much longer with the bank system, okay? I do not trust it. I do expect it to crash. A lot of people will say, hey, I know finance people, I know folks that are saying, don't worry, keep your money there, you're safe, whatever. I do not like it. Okay. And that's just my humble opinion. I am not a finance person. I am not that person. Right. And so by all means, don't make life decisions based on something that I am doing for myself or my own concerns. Right. I have not taken all my money out of the bank, right? And I'm not necessarily telling you to do that either, but I'm telling you to be smart, to think about the things that you're doing with your money, things that you have goals of things to complete in the year to come, right? And what happens if that is shut off? What have you done to prepare if you hit a situation where the bank, well, for whatever reasons, you cannot get your money out of the bank? What is the game plan? That's all I'm merely asking you to do, okay? The rest of the year, I think that the stuff that Nate was talking about on his channel, I think that we can expect an escalation of conflict. Do I know what that is? No. Am I an expert in war and wargaming? No. I have my opinions, right, from my military background. I have my opinions from my preparedness background, right, and how I feel about things and moves that I think make sense. I've said from day one that I think that Russia is very, very strong in the offense during winter time, during the cold. Yes, there's only certain things that they can do, equipment that won't move, certain things that change in that dynamic, but it's a dynamic that they have trained in. You know, I mentioned this before, and I had subscribers who said, well, Tasha, we have troops that train in terrain like that as well, in winter, winter ops, all that stuff. Yes, we do. But do you understand the percentage of our troops that actually get that type of training? It is very, very, very small, okay? Our military is not that big in the first place. And then when you talk about the percentage of them that have actually trained in winter ops, and now I'm not just saying go and do an exercise in the winter ops. I'm talking about like train all the time in it, okay? And are proficient and know what happens and the different things you have to worry about working in that type of element, okay? It's just like if we went to a war where we were in the jungle. Our military today does not train in that terrain, okay? That would be crazy. A Vietnam situation would be crazy, okay? That's just an example for terrain, right? We have a lot of troops that just merely don't have a lot of different terrain type training, okay? And I stand by my position that Russia is much stronger in that area, okay? And they could use that to their benefit knowing that. My concern, though, with them is stuff that is happening now, which again, we're not really covering that much on the news. And that's how dangerously close they're firing and getting close to nuclear areas, right? It's multiple places where they have hit or they have taken over nuclear plants, nuclear sites, and are very, very loose with how they're acting and steps they're taking. And when you have an enemy that is irresponsible or making irresponsible moves, you have no idea how that will play out. And if something is hit, there is what my fear is I don't necessarily think that we will get into a nuclear exchange, right? Where they are firing nukes and we're firing nukes or other countries are firing nukes. I don't think anybody wants that. But a nuclear incident, right? Accident, incident, whatever you want to call it. That's my fear, okay? That something would happen that would be beneficial, I guess you could say, to their wargaming, their war efforts. However, and would be, I mean, none of it is small, but small enough in the sense of it wasn't done on purpose, supposedly, right? And therefore, we don't go so hard in the paint, right? Because, you know, it's an incident. It's not a, you know, direct hit, if you will, a direct nuclear exchange meant for us type situation. I think, you know, the enemy is not as dumb as we think. Another enemy with China, I think that they're literally just waiting to see so that they can maneuver in a way that sets them up the best in regards to us. We are in a proxy war right now. We are busy. We are sending troops. We are sending gear, weapons. We've been doing that for months and months and months. And so we are in a proxy war. We can't handle multiple wars, okay? Would we possibly try? Absolutely, depending on what's happening. But I think that it benefits China to make a move when we are busy. So the busier, and if this conflict escalates in a way where we continue to be busier and more involved in that proxy war, that's less that we can be involved in another proxy war, meaning, backing up the Taiwan people that would be fighting, even though there's not enough of Taiwan people to fight. I mean, that battle would be over quickly unless we stepped in and it wasn't a proxy war. If we do that, that's not a proxy war anymore. That's us going to war, okay? And so it's not like the Ukraine situation where, they have fighters, they have a pretty decent military standing in their country, where Taiwan it's a small island. There's just not the numbers, right? And so it looks different. But I think that China's smart. And I think that if things escalate in a way that looks beneficial to them, they'll be okay. This is not ending anytime soon. Russia's doing just fine, right? They're doing just fine with sanctions and all this stuff. They're fine. I promise you, China has been building, even though we hear of all this stuff with them, with lockdowns and with their crops and with them telling people to, stockpile, and that, hey, maybe they're worse off than they act like they are. No, I think that they plan for the day that they're cut off, or that they cut people off and they're dependent on their own stuff. I think that they would do that, even if it hurt, a part of their, society, right? They're civilian people, right? They lost people from that. I think that it makes sense that they would make a move when we are as deep as we can be in another war, right? The more wrapped up we are in something else. And that's what I worry about. And I worry about a nuclear incident. And so I do the things for my home, right? You have to do your nuclear fallout window kits, right? You've got to get your plastic cut. You've got to get maybe some lead blankets, get your wood cut, right? Plenty of places for you to put that stuff in your home where people cannot see. Get that stuff done. Figure out in your house, in your home, your situation, where your fallout location would be. Where's the safest place now? Does your family know where that's at? Get your potassium iodide pills, right? Get that stuff. Know what the dosage is for you, adults. Know what the dosage is for your children, right? And have the things ready. Have the pectin, apple pectin, have the apple juice, have the things that will help you the best that you can possibly be helped. Have plenty of plants in your house to help with oxygen levels. I just can't stress that this stuff is important, right? Get your gas mask from MIRA Safety. I have a link in the thing in my description box below. Get your mask. If you do not have masks for your entire family, that needs to be on the list. I'm not telling you now, if you're a new prepper and you just started, food, water, meds is where you start. You don't start with gas masks, okay? You start with food, water, meds. But if you're at the point where you are pretty stocked up and you're looking for the next thing, what is another thing that I can get, an area that I can get knocked out? Your CBR gear, you should be getting that. Your biosuits, your masks, masks for your children, you should be getting that stuff, and just invest and get it. It's like life insurance, okay? It's a thing to have. You're going to need that if you plan on leaving your house to travel out of an area. You're going to need it if you're staying in your area, but you have to maybe travel outside of your home to go somewhere, or to go to the garage, or to go to a different location on your property to get something. Like, you've got to be able to be ready for this stuff. Yes, pray that this is preps you never have to use, right? Pray to God it's preps you never have to use. But I would hate to hear sirens, to hear or to feel a nuclear bomb go off and we made it, and then to not have the gear, to not have something to put on my children's face, okay, and on their bodies. Get that stuff, okay? What else do I think is going to happen? I think you're going to see an increase of kindness, okay? I do think you're going to see more soup kitchens, more food pantries. I think that you're going to see much, much longer lines this year, right? They always splash that on the TV, these lines during the holidays. Like, look at all these people, Fenway Park and all these different, sporting events or different fairgrounds that they set up these huge, we're handing out turkeys, whatever. I think you're going to continue to see that this year. I think you're going to continue to see people who want to help. And those lines are going to be much, much longer this year. But I think you're going to see that. It's cold. You're going to see soup lines, right? I think that you're going to see a certain level of kindness, though, come through in the form of, food pantries and food banks. I think that people will do that for as long as they possibly can. Everybody knows what's going on with inflation and that this is hard. And so I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see, or be prepared for infrastructure failures. We're seeing an increase in water situations. I think you're going to continue to see that because as you move forward with water, you have weather that is going to involve with pipes breaking, infrastructure that's old, and now you add, the weather element to that. You're just going to have more stuff that's breaking. So I think you should be prepared for water failures, for power failures, right? It's no different. All these people now who have heat and are trying to have heat, and make their thermometers go up, high utility bills, all this stuff is still going to be happening, right? I think gas is going to go back up, right? I think that we are blessed now that prices have gone down in most areas of the country. I think you should be utilizing that and capitalizing on that in regards to getting your gas stored if you don't have any gas, or maybe you stored gas, but you used it, right, during the time that it was high. Refill all those containers, get stuff going, and get that done before winter, right? Get your gas before that goes up, okay? And I think that we're going to see a little bit more violence and an increase in civil unrest. I think that violence is very, very high right now. And so I just think that that's people that are angry and unhinged right now with everything that's going on. And I think that that's just not going to stop. I think it's already happening and it's just going to continue. I think there'll be a little bit of civil unrest with election stuff, but I don't think it's going to be as crazy as like a presidential election year, right? I think that's going to be one for the books, okay, the next one. But I think that there'll be a little bit, right? Tensions are high, emotions are high, and there's a lot of movement, a lot of changes that have the potential of happening, in November. And so it's just something to watch and be paying attention to your surroundings as things unfold, as things happen, okay? Okay, I think that that's really the things that are going to happen. I'm going to just kind of break down my thought process, though. I'm going to try to go into this holiday and the rest of the year with a calmness, a peacefulness. Yes, the urgency is absolutely still there. Absolutely still there. But I'm going to try to concentrate on food preservation. I'm going to try to make more soups. I'm going to try to preserve more desserts, more snacks. I don't really concentrate on that stuff, really. And so I want to concentrate on that. Pie fillings, preserving different snacks, candies, things like that, right? Stuff for baking, right? Getting ahead of the holidays as far as preserving my turkey and, ham and all the, fixings and dessert stuff. And it just getting that in a shelf-stable way, right? I'm also going to be working on getting my freezer worked down again. I've gotten it, kind of preparing for winter. We've kind of filled it back up, and I'm going to work on, preserving it back down. Okay. A lot of our easy foods, quick foods, snacky type foods, ice cream, stuff like that, I'll keep in there. That's fine. My extra butter, cheese, stuff like that. But all the rest of it that can be preserved in a jar or vac sealed or whatever the case may be, I'm going to be preserving it, right? And working that down, because again, I want to be prepared and not be so heavy going into grid down situation with having to power that. Can I power it? Yes. But if I can condense down to one freezer versus two plus the combo, it makes a difference with how long your power lasts and stuff, right? So working those down. What else am I doing? We're doing, in the next couple weeks, we're getting the chicken coop set up. We're also getting our first greenhouse set up, kind of against the clock, right? Got to get those things set up so that we can get certain plants, certain potted plants and trees, fruit trees, into that greenhouse and get that started, get that going, right? We're going to concentrate on staples, right? I'm going to be concentrating more on, hey, in the Great Depression, there was only, a handful of foods that people had, that if they had those foods, they were golden. Okay. There was no buying pasta, right? They were making pasta, right? They were baking goods, baking breads, right? Making basic soups with meat and potato and a veggie type soup, right? Very basic. And so it's like, if you have those basics, you're gonna be just fine. Your family will not starve. And so for me, I'm trying to think of my tribe now. I'm trying to focus now on my tribe, the amount of people that will be in this home later on, the people that are going to congregate here, migrate here, and what that looks like for certain supplies, certain things. I'm concentrating on the staples, and it's not just food staples, it's hygiene staples. It's the basics, making sure that I have the core basics for the amount of people that are going to be here, right? And then conveying that to them so that I am getting that help, and we're all working together to get the things that will, the core things that will be needed for this group, right? I want to do more wellness tinctures. I want to finesse the indoor garden. So I'm super close to literally planting my first plant in the indoor garden. We've got the first corner set up with the lights. I need to get lights set up in this other corner. And then I'm going to probably do a video just to show you, maybe just a short, to just show you the room real quick before I start bringing in the plants and planting the seeds and stuff. And then I'll show you how I have it set up and why I did certain things the way that I did. Okay, this room is basically my medical room. It's my tincture room. It's my holistic type room to work with herbal stuff. It's where I'm going to be drying herbs. It's going to be for my garden. It's going to be where I have the indoor garden, and I'm going to have very particular things that I'm growing that to me are beneficial for me and my family, whether that's food that I know we will eat, or that's herbs and medicinal properties of things that I think are important to have, right? Should you either not lose your garden completely because of fallout. That's really my fear, is the day that you lose all of the outside stuff, right? That it's ruined from fallout. And then what do you do, right? And that indoor garden is really where that comes into play. Plus, it helps with that year-long being able to grow food scenario, right? That timeline of producing the entire year, even during those very, very cold months, and producing stuff that maybe is not a fall or winter crop, but you're producing it inside, okay? And then we have a couple projects. We're going to be working on the fence, redoing the whole fence area. I'm personally going to be working on more stuff for the animals and livestock. So for basically the day we can't just go get, over-the-counter feed, livestock feed. What does that look like for us? And so for me, it's preserving livestock and pet food to include treats. I'm realizing, like the dog we haven't had for very long, dog treats are expensive. I mean, usually I'm not one, like if I want something, I just get it, right? Yes, once in a while I'm like, oh, that's too much money, I can't do it, right? But if I want it, like a lot of times, I hate to say that, I just see it and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with paying that. But baby, them dog treats, out of control. I need to go in business. Dog treats, out of control. So I've been all over the internet finding all these different recipes that I want to try. And so my thing is going to be two things: bread recipes, and finding all the bread recipes that we want. So our favorites for sandwich bread, for a soup and stew type bread, to rolls, all that stuff, our favorites. And then pet food, getting the pet food shelf stable, ready to go for the day we can't get it from the store. But also the treats, I'm probably going to start making those to just make them on my own to save money, because the dog treats is out of control and I don't think I can do it. Like, it really hurts my soul buying some dog treats right now, right? And some of them are so crappy and you're like, how in the world is this so much money? And it's just nothing but just a dry, disgusting, like, gross, right? So I don't know. And then the other thing I want to do before the end of the year, and I've mentioned this on other videos in the past, and I still have not done it, and that's getting my ham radio license, right? You know, a lot of people say, well, you don't even need that during the SHTF, right? If everything is chaos, like nobody's going around checking license. You're right. And you don't need a license to listen on a ham radio. So you can buy a ham radio, don't need a license, can listen on it, don't need a license, but to convey, to transmit on it, you're supposed to have a license. But let me tell you, there's more to the license of just the license to be able to operate, to do it, to use it. It's to learn about it as well. I mean, you're learning the process, you're learning the pieces of the ham radio yourself. I don't know if you've ever looked at one, but they're complicated. They're not the easiest to just figure out, right? And so this has been a goal, a skill that I've wanted to learn for a while. I have a little bit of background with radios in the military, but nothing that's extensive, right? Or what I would call extensive. Nothing that I retained. Let's just put it that way, right? I would retain it for a minute, for an exercise, for a field exercise, for deployment, whatever the case may be. But baby, ow, it's not one of those things that really got me excited in the military, right? But now I'm kicking myself because I'm like, okay, I need to get myself into a class. So we're going to be looking at that, probably looking at getting kiddo into some self-defensive type classes. Homeschooling is going well, so continuing that through the end of the year. I don't know. Life is really good, and we're planning to just concentrate on the good, right? Living within our means, taking care of projects, continuing to move forward to make things self-sufficient in this home. And that's what it's about, right? It's not about being fearful about the things that do concern me. I am concerned about some pretty scary things in life. But it's definitely not what we're going to concentrate in this household. Do we concentrate on it enough to execute goals? Absolutely, right? To stop and think about stuff that could happen and to prepare for it? Absolutely, we do that. But I'm not going to ponder on it in the sense of feeding my anxiety. I already have chronic anxiety. So I really have to be careful about what I choose to let in, right? Because Nate, I can tell he's feeling it, and I don't want to be like that. So I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys have been talking your little hearts out in the chat and sharing lots of good information. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the next video. Take care. Bye.